Hi there. Welcome back to Change Coach Conversations. In Change Coach Conversation number 5, I'm going to talk about how we as coaches help people break habits. So when I talk about habits, I'm always talking about the things we're used to thinking of as habits, the behavioral things, drinking, smoking, binge eating, all of that good stuff. But also habitual anxiety, habitual moods, habitual depression. It all looks the same. And I think as we go through this conversation, you'll see why. So as human beings, our experience, our mind, body, form experience is incredibly habitual. Our psychology is habitual. Our minds work in habitual ways. Our bodies work in habitual ways, right? They habitually breathe our lungs and beat our heart and digest our food. It has to be this way. So I'm talking about in form, in this mind-body system. There is a ton of habits. They're habit-loving machines. Now, in the formless, which is who and what you are a little more, there's formless turns to form, right? But beyond this form, beyond this mind-body machine, there is a formless essence that is all of us. And that isn't habitual. That is brand new and fresh in every single moment. It is free. It is just completely unrestricted, free aliveness. There are no problems there. There are no habits there. They're all is well in formless. So when we are feeling stuck in unwanted habits, anxiety, depression, truly, if we really look at it, it is a case of us identifying with the form, overly identifying with the form, often only identifying with the form, and completely losing sight of our formless nature. And that might sound kind of vague. That might sound like, well, how do I hold my formless nature if it's everything and it's aliveness, and of course I'm identified with thoughts and feelings and my psychology, of course. And yes, it is, of course, but this shifts for people. It doesn't have to only be that way. We are conditioned, once our mind starts talking, we get super zoomed into the form and very identified with form. And again, by form, I mean, I am this body, these thoughts are mine, these feelings are mine. It's like this physicalness is all we can see at times. But this is what we do for people is they're staring at the physicalness saying, this is me and my problem. This is me and my problem. And we just turn them a little bit over this way. And we say, yeah, this is all here. This is habitually showing up the way it is. And I know it looks and feels like you, but what's beyond this? And as we start to wake up to this, it is not so vague. It comes to life. We feel it because we are it. It is not a stretch. It's not far out there. It is intimate. It is the thing we actually know more than anything. So as change coaches, when we help people end habits, what we aren't doing, we do this in a way that is unlike what anyone else is doing, anyone else out in the world, who's giving strategies and steps and all of that. So we are not going into psychology and trying to change our psychology. We're not going into our experience and trying to change our experience. So when people do that, what it is like, oh, let's change your thoughts. Think a different thought. Tell a nicer story. Let's learn to surf these urges or, surf these feelings. So we're in a feeling, which is great, but we're trying to do something with it and manipulate it a little bit. And so that's not what change coaches do. We're not looking at behavior. We're not looking at behavior first, I should say. We're not coming up with a set of behavioral strategies and saying, okay, when you feel that urge to whatever, go for a walk, call a friend, take a bubble bath. That is not what we're doing. All of those things fall in the camp of using our psychology, staying identified with form and our moving, changing, habitual psychology, but within that, trying to change it. It's like if you're in a hole, digging the hole more. If you're in a hole, stop digging. The way to get out is not to dig more. If you're in quicksand, you're not going to get out by running faster. And that is what those things do. They're trying to use psychology like willpower, discipline, and all these strategies to change psychology, and it doesn't work. It doesn't work. It leaves us frustrated and exhausted and feeling like we're spinning our wheels and wondering why we're not getting anywhere and we're not getting deep enough. Now, sometimes it appears as if those things help or work. So if you take a bubble bath and you feel better and you don't have any more urge to do your habit, and so you don't do your habit that day, let's say, it will look like the bubble bath did that. Now, keep in mind that there are lots of times when these things will not work, when you cannot change your thoughts, you cannot take a bubble bath, or you do, and it does nothing for you. I can't tell you how many times I used to binge eat immediately after a bubble bath. Like it seems like it works sometimes. It doesn't work, clearly doesn't work a lot of other times. Now, but if it feels like it works, we're conditioned to give the credit to the bubble bath. Oh, I called my friend, I took this bath, I changed my thoughts, and then I felt better. What's really happening there is we felt better because that's our nature. Thought comes and thought goes. Feeling comes and feeling goes. Even in habitual ways, what's really happening there is we fell out of all that form for a minute. The form came and went, and we naturally, because this is what we're designed for, our identification with it kind of loosened. And things change and move, and minds change and feelings change. So that happened, but if it looks like it happened because you took that bath, or because you called that friend, or because you had to sit down and surf your urge, you're going to be stuck on that strategy. So that is not where it's coming from when those things happen to work. And again, a lot of times they don't work. So what change coaches do is not jump into psychology and try to change psychology from within it. That would be crazy, and it doesn't work. What we do is we help people see. We help them see this habit lives in experience. Experience comes and goes. Yes, your mind creates those same anxious thoughts and those same anxious feelings, and all of that shows up. That is not you. We explore this in a way where people come to see, okay, this is what's arising, but that's just the form. I can watch that. I can even be in that and be unaffected by it at times. Honestly, we can. Now, we can't fathom that when we've been so identified with it forever that it feels like all we know. But as you start to detach from that and see it in a more insightful way, it becomes extremely clear that you can feel all kinds of stuff. You can feel and experience all kinds of habitual mind-body stuff, as we do forever, our entire lives, and be at peace in it. We don't need to make it change. So this is easier than it seems for the client and for us, for sure. It's easier than it seems. We just have these transformational conversations where we look at what's what, and we point people away from willpower, from jumping in and digging faster and trying to make this thing change. And we point them to, as we point them away from all that willpower and we're pointing them toward their nature, they're having insights. And insight and peace with what is what does it. And before you know it, they can feel those same urges or that discomfort or whatever it is that shows up. And they're not pushing against it. And when they aren't pushing against it, it just comes and goes. And there's no need for a habit. So as a change coach, this is what we do. We look toward the formless. We also look toward the form with an eye on understanding it and seeing it for what it is, not with an eye on changing it. And along the way, we explore whatever comes up. So of course, all kinds of stuff comes up when you're working with someone with a habit. Issues about triggers, setbacks, the way a mind is super black and white. I mean, there's just so many topics that tend to come up as you're supporting someone as they're leaving a habit behind. And that's beautiful. All of that is perfect. It comes up to be seen through, and we discuss it and explore it. And the change that happens from these conversations, from this way of looking at things, is so different from anything that is manipulative, because if you're using willpower and discipline or trying to remember things or whatever, it just is going to run out. Of course it is. This is effortless. And that does not mean it's instant. It does not mean it happens right away. None of that. But it doesn't take effort. We're just exploring. And as people have insights, things shift. There's no effort in that. It takes the effort that it takes them to jump on Zoom and show up for your session, or the effort to have a conversation, but there's no fighting. They're not fighting their habit or their experience. we're just exploring it together and it's coming to look different. And when it's effortless and when it's deep in this insightful way, it lasts. There are shifts that just once we see them, we don't go back to seeing things the old way. So I'm absolutely love this work so much. I'm just grateful every single day that I came across this way of seeing my own habits and my own issues, which is why I do this. The only thing that helped me be free after trying everything. And then I get to do this with people. I mean, it's incredible. So if you would like to help people find freedom from their habitual psychology, and again, I don't mean end their habitual psychology, it will never end, but find peace within it so that they aren't run around by it. I would love to support you in doing that and teach you how to do that in the Change Coach training that starts in January. So you can check out the link here. It's just, you get so much support as you're learning this. You're seeing it yourself in a really deep way and then learning how to point others in this direction. And it's so rewarding. So I'd love for you to join us, and I'll be back here next week with another Change Coach conversation.